Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Quantum Realm in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 150. It is, I guess, Quantum Realm Eve, or the Quantum Mania Eve.
I mean, it's not Eve. That's next week. But
okay, well,
for this show, I guess.
For the show, yes, we'll go with that.
I wish it was. My mother-in-law texted me today at 4:00. What time do you need me over? And I'm like, for the movie that's in a week. You can come in a week. That'd be fine.
No, like, she got to plan early. You got to plan it. You got to plan it out. You know?
I love where her head's at. She's ready to come over. Watch those kids. I like where her head's at. It was good for a laugh. I'm like, you're a week early after I confirmed this with you last week, but all good.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Well, how has your week been?
It's been good. It's been a little different for me. Took the day off today because of an unexpected snow day. I don't normally take those off, but basically stayed home to watch the kids because they were off, so my wife could get just a little bit of work done. And it's always hectic when the kids are in the house of how much you can get. But she asked me to stay home, so I wasn't really planning to be off today, but I'll take it.
Hey, sometimes the best surprises are like that. You get to stay home, so. But yeah, this week for me, just a couple of late nights, a couple of early mornings, a lot of presentations to do. So I am looking forward to I have a half day tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to just a little easier Friday heading into the weekend. So and you are Chiefs Nation right now.
That's right.
Y'all are. So you
big week.
Big week. We got a big game. We can't say the real name of the game. We don't want to get demonetized or anything like that.
Can't do that. But it's big time for a Chiefs. And I know other people are tired of it, but for us, it's still very novel because like my whole time growing up, if they even made the playoffs, they were out in game one. Like they didn't. They were garbage. Let's call it what it is.
You are fans, so you are fully within your right to enjoy this moment. So. But I see Omar Daniels in chat. Omar, we will share your prediction when we get into our predictions. So that's a good one. I don't want to jump on too early, but stay tuned. We'll share that one and give our thoughts on it as well. So, but all right, yeah. So we've got we're going to do our 2023 predictions tonight and get into some news items. A lot of you put out the Spidey signal and people came running today.
Yeah, we got some good ones in there. We got some good ones.
So, but yeah, let me get with the show, the network plugs out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers, our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch. We've got 13 episodes. Our latest one, Avengers Age of Ultron, is up there. And next Monday, we are getting ready to record episode 14, timely for the week of Ant-Man. What are we watching?
Ant-Man. It is amazing how that worked out for both Guardians and this, where Guardians right before the holiday special, Ant-Man right before Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I wish we played it that way. No, it's pure happenstance.
Yeah, it just, again, good timing, synergy. We like it. So, but the DC Alliance guys are doing the DC Through the Years, so they're dropping those at that point. We've got a league of back content for you all to look at, Patreon exclusive. So we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And if you haven't joined us on Patreon, take that time and whatever tier you want to join, go to www.patreon.com /GUA network to get all the lovely content that we offer at that point. And again, we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. But if you cannot join us on Patreon, if you want to take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform of choice may be, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com for your omnibus hardcover or collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with all the immaculate packaging, excellent customer service, ships around the world. Again, these are lovely. Got 7 more days to lock in your pre-orders for all these lovely Marvel omnibuses at that point. And again, we always have to call out the one Omni that, you know, Brent really might actually buy physically at one
I am
point.
seriously considering buying a physical comic book for me.
Just to support.
For the first time in forever. Well, I know, like, with Omnis more than anything, voting with your dollars counts.
Yes.
And so
especially especially a volume 1. Volume 1.
They strongly considering that.
But if you want to buy that or look at anything else on OPB, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. And again, a little birdie just told me, JP gave me a little heads up that the Volume 1 of Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, the standard cover has sold out at the distributor, meaning the books he just got in, he cannot order any more of the standard edition cover. The direct market that he gets only at comic shops, that still has some left, but if the standard's going, well, the other one's going to go too. And that just came out this week. So can't argue with Hickman, right?
No. I mean, you know, I think he's going to have a good, successful career in this stuff.
Yep, exactly. So again, I want to thank Organic Price Books for being our official sponsor. All right, so you know it's February, but we were debating exactly when we should do our predictions at that point, and you know what? I think that the week before the first movie of Phase 5, first movie of the year, it would be the best time to do our predictions at that point. So. Unfortunately, Mr. Snell could not join us, but we do have his predictions at that point, and we will kind of do a kind of a round robin of each one of our predictions. You know, mine, I'm very curious of yours, Brent. We've already seen Travis's because he had to send it to us, but I'm very curious to see how many are you movie focused, show focused, anything, any hints you want to get, how focused you are, you spread the wealth.
I hadn't thought about. I would say it's more movie focused than anything.
All right.
Yes, it's more movie focused. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll go first at that point. Then you'll go, and then we'll read Travis's at that point. So we each got 5, kind of like what we did last year at that point. So we're gonna put these out there, and then a year from now, next January, we will revisit them and see how correct or wrecked we got with this. And I still got points on the board. I got 0.5 points on the board. So
you did.
Everyone got points,
Apparently
but Brent, you were the winner.
I was 2022 victory with 2 out of 5 correct.
All right. Well, you will be defending your crown this year at that point. All right. So my first prediction, I think at some point this year, we will get either in the movies or in the shows, we will get our first look at an actual incursion happening. We will see a physical incursion happening at some point, either in the movies or in the shows.
Oh, this year, this calendar year.
I say in this calendar year, because again, we've got some potential.
That's interesting. You know, I would probably, if this were fact or fiction, vote against it, but I love the idea. I like where you're
I'm going for it.
And you are going for it, and I like that a lot. So I hope you're right on this one.
And again, you know, we might get like a history overview, maybe a little bit of next week with Quantumania. We got Loki season 2 that I think there's going to be some more ideas of stuff happening. Again, if Feige is saying like here's where we really begin the multiverse saga, and we know what we're getting towards with Secret Wars, we've seen the after effects of incursions happen in Multiverse of Madness. Well, let's actually see one occurring and start building towards Secret Wars.
It's time. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, mine. I believe at least one MCU movie this year will hit $1 billion. One movie in 2023 will hit $1 billion. For the record, non-graded, Guardians is my best guess, but it can be any of them. It can be any of them for me to get the point. I think at least one will. I also honestly think only one will. But
yeah, I mean, we already see, we'll get to this hint for later tonight. We'll do our post-credits with our Ant-Man and the Quantumania predictions and obviously box office, but box office is looking the strongest Ant-Man has ever looked. The original and the sequel, it is going to be a very interesting one, and I think a lot of that is built on the back of Jonathan Majors.
He's definitely got some hype for him, that's for sure.
Yeah. So your guess your money's riding on Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would pick Guardians if you make me want to pick, but I would to get credit, I will take any of them. So if the Marvels, does 2 in a row, crossing $1 billion for Captain Marvel there, well then great, I get the point.
All right. So what does Travis got for his first one?
Well, Mr. Snell disagrees with me because his first prediction was actually no MCU film would hit $1 billion. And what I love is, while that for me was my last one I wrote down, it was before I saw Snell's submissions. And so we were truly just opposite sides of that coin here.
We will go with that. We have no reason not to trust you, Brent. So
it is true. I mean, I do like to mess with Snell, but in this case, it is true.
All in the Games pointing out in the chat that Guardians of the Galaxy comes just 2 weeks before Fast and Furious 10. Again,
that's not a great release time. That is a problem. Fast and Furious is a moneymaker. So that's a good point. And #family, and man, those tickets are on sale already too, which is just nuts.
Brent says family can wait right now though, which is interesting.
Family's important, but Marvel priorities.
Priorities. Exactly. All right. My next one. By the end of 2023, we will see the first teaser trailer for Deadpool 3.
Yes.
And I said teaser. Teaser is a very broad term, especially when it comes to Mr. Ryan Reynolds. So
I believe you are correct. I mean, some people might argue we've already seen a couple of them just from seeing him and you interact. But no, for real, I believe you are correct.
So I would definitely like that. So it would be interesting, especially with some news that we'll probably talk about with questions tonight. I think it would be very interesting because the movie comes out right now. I think if I remember correctly, November of next year.
Oh, that sounds right. You would ask a question I don't have right off the top of my head, but I can get it.
You've got your reminders.
I do. They're in there. We're at Deadpool 3, November 8th.
All right.
638 days away.
Yeah. So I think it would be prime time. A year away, we would by the end of this year, we will get a teaser trailer for Deadpool 3. So.
All right. My second one. At least 2 more Marvel TV / streaming only actors. Marvel TV / streaming only will be confirmed to reprise their roles in the MCU proper. So, for example, John Berthal and Chloe Bennett would fulfill this if it was the two of them. I am putting in, this is official part of the pick, Clark Gregg does not count. I just want to be clear on expectations and to set it. He started in the movies. He started in the MCU proper. I want to be clear. He does not count. So if he were to come back for something, doesn't count.
So you're saying at least 2 or at most 2?
At least 2.
At least 2? Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, when you name your 2 there at that point, I mean, one.
I mean, we might get it confirmed with just Daredevil Born Again news. Period. But
true. So you don't have to see it. You want. Okay, so confirmed by Marvel or confirmed by a trusted trade?
I will swap I will readjust my wording.
Okay.
And said officially announced by Marvel.
Officially announced by Marvel. So Deadline, Variety, that does not count.
Unless they have quotes from Marvel in it, no.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure, so we got it on record at that point. So S-Bubs in the chat saying Coulson revived for the 97th time. Again, Tahiti is an amazing place. Have you been to S-Bubs?
It's a magical place, right?
Yep. Or Daniel saying, I wonder where the best place would be for Coulson to reappear again. Tahiti.
I mean, right now, outside of Secret Invasion, I honestly don't know. I think Secret Invasion is the best place for him to reappear, but because it's a Nick Fury show. But
true. I could also see maybe Ironheart.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. I mean, I like Clark Gregg. I'd be thrilled if he did come back, but he doesn't count for this.
Yeah, like you said, I like the qualification because he started in the movie. So, all right, what's Travis got for his second one?
One way or another, we will see a live-action Ghost Rider in 2023.
Wait a minute. Are these Travis's things, or is this Taylor getting involved? I mean,
That's
I
a
love
very
it
good question.
because again, Ghost Rider. Again, Taylor and I are soulmates on the Ghost Rider love at that point. But I think I'm okay with Taylor getting the ear of Travis at that point. But Ghost Rider, one way or another. I mean, again, that outside of What If. I'm trying to think. Where else? I mean, we could.
But he said live action. What if? It's
Oh,
not
live
likely to
action?
be live
Oh.
action. Yeah. He said live action.
Okay,
Ghost Rider.
then Loki at that point.
I think Loki's probably the best shot because it's the only live action one we know is going to be jumping through different. I'll say it again: multiverses and timelines, two sides, same coin. It's the only even close shot that we have there.
Yeah. I will love it at that point if it happens. All right, my third one. All right, I'll get into the box office game. Each one of you had a box office. I have a box office for you. Across the Spider-Verse will make over $50 million domestically in its first weekend. Context for this is that the Spider-Verse Enter the Spider-Verse only made $35 million domestically and $56 million worldwide for its first weekend.
And you're saying 50 million domestic?
I'm saying $50 million domestically.
I feel like that's a good bet. You know what? This might blow your mind. I didn't actually see Into the Spider-Verse opening weekend.
Neither did I. We both saw it. We both saw it on the preview.
Couple weeks early, and I don't remember why, but it was actually not easy that weekend. And because I had already seen it, I didn't bend over backwards. Now I did see it again in theaters, they did get some of my money because that other one was a free showing. But it is kind of funny that I haven't seen it, but that's okay. I'll take seeing it early over seeing it opening night any day.
Yeah, and again, I was just looking at because obviously it's one of my most anticipated movies of the year. But I just remember, and I can't remember what I was listening to recently. It was saying people didn't remember how that movie picked up steam after the Oscar buzz, after they won the Oscar. It really started picking up. It was obviously a critical darling, but it just didn't hit amongst the audience. Now I'm thinking again, we've seen some pretty big misses with animation. And things but then we've been very surprised sometimes by certain animation. So this one's going to be interesting. I didn't want to swing for the fences saying it's going to be it's still animation at that point, but it's also got that appeal of the first movie was great. Those trailers the first teaser trailer was amazing.
They'll be able to say sequel to the Oscar-winning Into the
Exactly.
Spider-Verse. They may potentially tease some other cameos, like if Tobey Maguire's in it, they may just offer that up in the marketing. You don't know, they might not. But in the first one also, not only did it pick up steam from the Oscar buzz, but when it truly hit Netflix, people were all over that movie for a while there. So no, I do expect good things from the sequel.
Yep. All right. So that was my third. What's your third?
All MCU movies released in 2023 will be released in China. All the MCU movies this year were coming out in China. I know you and Snell were both, we don't know if the others are going to go in China this year, or is it just Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? I think all three of them are going.
Okay, it would be great. It would definitely make the box office, the $1 billion possibility, even greater.
Yes, it certainly. Well, honestly, without China, I don't make that first prediction.
Gotcha. Yeah, fair.
So I'm all in there, I guess.
Yep.
Mr. Snell, Loki will meet a Thor variant in season 2.
Oh, he's been pushing this for a while.
And for the record, he said meet a Thor, because there was a Thor variant. We saw Throg in Loki season 1.
In the soil.
But he was there. But he didn't say
there.
just appear. He said meets. So we'll find out.
I like it. It's very. It would be very interesting just because I have a feeling they're going to lean very much into. I think we're finally going to start seeing more of these variants. I think they're going to lean real hard into it this season. So yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility.
I agree. I think it'll happen. Now, it may not be played by Hemsworth, but I do think we'll see a version of Thor.
All right, my fourth one. We've heard the rumors. I think we can pretty much almost say this is kind of confirmed with Ironheart. The main villain is going to be, the Hood at that point. I say by the end of that, the Hood's at maybe the post-credit scene, we're going to see the Hood being recruited into the Thunderbolts.
Ooh, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. So I could see that's what, because we've been hearing a lot of rumors. Like, we've seen the team, but we haven't seen all members of the team. And I think the way they're kind of positioning the Hood and Ironheart very much, and everyone's complaining, oh, they're all super soldiers. Where's the magic? Where's the powers at that point? Well, the Hood's going to give you that. So
I was thinking about some. I'm not going to name them because I'm saving them for Fact or Fictions, but I was thinking about some potential lineups for the Thunderbolts and like additions to the lineup that we might see. And so we'll see. But he's not, Red Hood's not one I thought of, but I like that idea.
Yep. So the Hood being recruited to the Thunderbolts. So that's my fourth one. What you got?
By the end of 2023, we will either have seen Shang-Chi again or at least have an official announcement of his next appearance.
Okay.
So by the end of this year, we will know where he is going to be after Shang-Chi 1.
Or a live action appearance at that point.
I did mean live action. I'm gonna add that into my notes so we can make sure that's clear. We will see Shang-Chi again, or at least had an official announcement of his next live action appearance.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, not gonna turn it down. I'm always trying to think of if we get the live action appearance. I'm trying to think where. Where do you think? Where's your possibility?
Honestly, I think the best money here is finding out when he will be officially appearing, like an official word from Marvel. And I'm sure someone right now is saying he implied he was going to be in the King Dynasty, and he did. But even that, he didn't directly said. He just said he wanted to work with Cretin again. That's a little bit different. But I think that's the best way for me to get this point. If it's by appearing, it's probably a credit scene unrelated to the movie it's in.
Okay,
that would be my best guess.
All right. What about Travis?
Travis, we will see a mutant character in one Marvel Studios project this year, not counting X-Men 97.
I mean, we got a number of them last year.
Right? We had several of them, and including a couple MCU debut ones in the forms of Namor and Ms. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's got a good chance at this one.
Yeah, and I like that he decided not to take the low-hanging fruit with saying X-Men 97. That's if it comes out this year. We still don't have that official yet. But yeah, hey, more mutants leads us towards the X-Men. I'm not going to turn it down.
Nope.
Mario Daniels saying in the chat, maybe Shang-Chi would appear in the Marvels to find out more about the rings. Yeah, very much.
Very plausible. The Captain Marvel's aware of them at least, and I like it. Give me the point. Plus, Shang-Chi was my favorite movie of Phase 4, not named Spider-Man. I really want to see him again. Where is he at?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so my last one. We will get the first World of Wakanda show announced this year.
I think there's a really good chance of that happening. Denai Guerrero, I don't remember which show it was. Stephen Colbert, I don't remember. Whatever. On one of the talk shows, she recently heavily teased it also, and so I think you got a real good chance of that.
Yeah, and I'm just calling. I don't know what they're calling it. I just like the whole idea of calling it the World of Wakanda at that point. So whatever they're going to call it, whatever they're tied to, whatever Ryan Coogler is executive producing at this point with focus on Wakanda, we're going to get it at this year. SDCC, D23, at some point we're getting that official announcement.
For the record, I think they're going to call it the Midnight Angels, but I like your title better because I think it is going to be the Midnight Angels. I think it's going to be Okoye and Anika. And so I like your title better. I also like just the Dora Milaje, just do a title based on them. Or you could do it just the Jabari, or, something like, King M'Baku. Got to get that King in there. It's just, but World of Wakanda, I think, is the absolute best title.
Well, Aaron just watched it. Aaron just watched it for the first time this weekend at that point, and she agrees with Okoye. They're just hideous.
They're it's an ugly design.
It's just bad.
Even in the comics and stuff, it's an ugly design. Props for the comic accuracy.
Yeah.
But, you can polish a turd, it's still a turd, right? Isn't that what they say? It's an
Yes.
ugly design. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Marvel. We're fanboys, but we also can give critiques. So
That's true.
so
All right, my last
those
one.
are my 5.
We will find out when the next Spider-Man movie will be releasing, but we will not get a title beyond anything along the lines of Spider-Man 4. So like a real title, subtitle, we will not know, but we'll at least know when Sony will announce when it's going to release.
Gotcha. And we've said, like, the history is that this is not an announcement coming from Feige. This has always been from Sony at that point. So
yeah, the announcement will come from Sony. There'll probably will be some sort of quote from Feige in the articles, but the announcement will be from Sony.
Yeah. All right. Sony executives have been dancing around this thing. It's happening. It's happening. Like, they did trust us, bro, trust us. It's like, okay, now it's time to put up or shut up. But we still also don't know where we're going to see, again, we still got that cameo appearance or team up appearance still on his original contract too.
Which, for the record, is not going to be on Disney Plus, people. It's not. I want it to be. I want it to be on Disney. I mean, I think we all know what project I want it to be in on Disney Plus.
There's a spider in Hell's Kitchen.
And I would love for there to be a spider in Hell's Kitchen, but that's not where they're going to use them. It doesn't make sense for that to be the case.
All right, all in the game. SNO, Black Panther.
Shout out to Black Panther Wakanda Forever being the #1 Marvel film premiere globally on Disney Plus in its first 5 days. Absolutely. I don't. Yes. Did they say what the number was? I don't remember. But regardless, #1 global debut. That's great. Love it.
Mm-hmm. And all in the game is throwing a little shade at the distinctive competition. Be nice if they could beat Paradise Lost to the screen.
When I'm trolling, I've thought of that, but I think they're going to be so different because we're talking about current people in Wakanda. Paradise Lost, which the Amazon part was great in those movies, let's be real. Paradise Lost is going to be set in the past. So why they can't do a Wonder Woman project in the present day, I don't know. But at least, it's going to be in the past. All right, Snell did have one more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Craven will make under $250 million worldwide at the box office.
Just, I'm guessing, for the entire run.
That's what he says.
That's
what he said.
I'm turning one of mine into a fact or fiction related to that, so I'll hold on to that for a later fact or fiction with Craven box office. But yeah, that's
what did Morbius make? Oh gosh, he might get this. Morbius only made 162.
Yep. It's Craven some Craven. So
I don't want these movies to fail. I want to go into them and enjoy them. But it'll be funnier if he gets this point. It will be funnier.
It will be.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
We will. All right, so Amari Daniels threw one up there for us, one of his predictions. I love the news of a Moon Knight Season 2 where we may see Oscar Isaac again so we can get more of Jake Lockley.
Yes. I think I considered something on there, but I feel like because we just had Moon Knight, they have a little more time if they want to wait. And so it didn't quite crack my my top 5 predictions, but I thought about it.
Yep, as Omari confirms, made under $200 million. Yeah.
Ouch. 162. Good grief.
Come on, but it was Morbid
even
time.
With the re-release, and I don't know if that 162 counts that, but even with the re-release, it's still under $200 million. They did a re-release for Morbius.
I just don't buy though. I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that they bought into a Twitter campaign. But then I think about, it's Sony. Of course they would probably buy into it.
Well, you're not wrong.
Man,
you're not wrong.
Yep. So, all right. So those are our predictions. Brent's going to store all these in the time capsule so that way we have them for a year from now. And maybe we'll start revisiting them as if and when they come true. So, but yeah, as always, I like this tradition. Before the first project, we do this. I like this. So we will see. And so let us take our first ad break. Look at this, right on the dot, almost at 30 minutes. We're doing good. Look at this. So let us take that first ad break. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We can't choose the ads that come on, and it can be a bit loud. Give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, all right. So, first news is coming from The Wrap. Fantastic Four director breaks silence on optimistic reboot. So, this one was very interesting in the sense of, Shackman's been basically quiet since he got announced. He's been, writing it up, working,
They
making
didn't
sure.
even bring him on stage at, was it Disney
Wave-
D23? They just
Yeah.
waved to him in the crowd.
Waving him at the crowd at that point. Everyone's like, "Oh, they're gonna announce the whole cast." I said, "Dude was just named, man.
Yeah.
Officially, you're not gonna get much out of him." But he spoke exclusively with The Wrap. He did reveal that commencing shooting will begin in early 2024. So that was a big confirmation from him. So we do have a start date for them. He says that it's really a family there, and to be able to go back and tackle something that I truly love. And they're very similar in some ways. They both were launched in the 60s, so he's relating his love of Fantastic Four and his work on Star Trek, which he also hails from. So he said they both were launched in the 60s at the same time. They both were about optimism and looking to the stars and how technology can solve everything. And they're about family too. Look at that, hashtag family. The family you have and the family you make. So they're aligned in many ways and speak to my heart equally. So I'm excited to be working on Fantastic Four. He continued on saying, "I had a great time working on Star Trek for a little over a year, working closely with J.J. Abrams and everyone at Paramount. I wished him nothing but the best." He said, "But movies have different journeys and momentums, and schedules are a little bit mercurial. So when Fantastic Four opportunity came up, it was just too hard to pass up, and to go back home to Marvel, a place that I've worked with WandaVision, and those people are wonderful collaborators." He did say he is in the middle of thinking of casting, working on casting, but no official announcements are coming from him at this time of who he's even on the short list for. And big surprise there. But it was nice to get out of him that shooting will commence early next year.
Yeah, and he views them as, the importance of family and optimism, right? Like I feel like he's at least got the basics, right? No, I mean, number one, literally a hashtag family for the Fantastic Four. That they're Marvel's first family, right? Like if you don't go for that, if you don't make them a family, you've already lost. So to me, that just says their head's in the right place going forward. That works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I'm saying, Fantastic Four Legacy 2025. And Heinz and hashtag family. Welcome, Mr. Heinz, to the chat. I mean, we've already said it. Like 2025 is going to be a big year for Marvel and DC. It's going to be absolutely stacked.
It's going to be fun.
So it was good to hear Shackman just give a little bit of a update on that one. But I guarantee we're probably not going to hear much casting until we get closer and closer to the summer. At that point for SDCC, that's where I'm thinking we get that.
I would be shocked if we got anything official before San Diego. Absolutely shocked. There's no reason to.
We'll continue to keep on getting rumors and people saying, "Oh, it's going to be this one. It's going to be Adam Driver Adam Driver's going to play Sue Storm." I think that would be interesting.
I mean, at this point, I think he's going to play the entire Fantastic Four.
Including
Herbie.
Of course, including Herbie at that point. I mean, Travis would be very excited about that.
He would be.
You look at that Squarespace ad. I mean, he does have multiple versions of himself.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
All right. So next story up is Wonder Man. We get a big Wonder Man update at that point. So it's coming from Discussing Film. This is an exclusive from them. They have learned that James Ponsoldt is in talks to direct episodes of Marvel Studios' Wonder Man series, with the aim to begin production by the end of March of this year. First, the tone. Wonder Man they're aiming, supposedly rumors are saying, based on what they're hearing, is that will be similar to HBO's Barry, with the premise, what's Hollywood like if superheroes exist? This was coming from Grace Randolph. So again, giving where credit is due, but a lot of people were backing up Grace Randolph on this one. I love the show Barry. I still got to watch the last season of it that just came out, but that would be really interesting. Again, a kind of a Wonder Man's is a very interesting character, but especially played by Yaya at that point. I'm looking for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. This director they're talking about will be helming an unspecified number of episodes, presumably sharing directing duties with Destin Daniel Cretton. Deadline previously reported that Cretton is attached to Wonder Man as a director and executive producer under his first look deal with Marvel Studios. Whether he does direct is likely dependent on his schedule because, again, he's attached to a couple of projects at that point. Namely, the biggest one he's got is Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. He has not necessarily said if he is directing the sequel to Shang-Chi, but that's his baby. I would be very surprised. I wouldn't be. I take it back. Would I be surprised? No, if his focus needs to be on Kang Dynasty. Would I be disappointed? Yes, but I would understand.
Hopefully, if he's not doing Shang-Chi 2 or whatever they call it, hopefully he has a hand in selecting who the director is, which is not something, at least publicly, that we've seen from Marvel. I don't think we've ever known that the director of the first movie had a hand in who directed the second one. They've commented on it, sure, but I don't think they've ever. But that, especially with his involvement with and how big a project Kang Dynasty is going to be, it'd be cool if he had a chance. But I mean, like I said, I adored that movie, so I would love for him to come back and get another one in. I just don't. As right now, I don't see how there's time.
Yeah, neither do I, but we'll see. But James Ponsoldt is a very highly regarded director in both film and television. His breakout film, The Spectacular Now, starring Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley, received the Grand Jury Prize and Special Jury Prize at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival. His most recent film was 2017's The Circle, starring Tom Hanks, Emma Watson, and John Boyega, was critically praised and was seen as a box office flop. His most recent creative efforts, though, is one of my new favorite shows. On Apple TV Plus's next big hit is he serves as the director and executive producer of Shrinking, from Brett Goldstein and Bill Lawrence, following a therapist who's going to tell his clients exactly what he thinks, starring the illustrious oh, man, I just love this cast. Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. I've seen every episode since it's come out. I highly recommend it.
I haven't started it yet, but it is absolutely on our list. We just talked about it yesterday, actually, or Wednesday, whatever. Whatever was a Wednesday when the Wakanda Forever the assembled Wakanda Forever came out.
Yeah,
that day, okay. That day is when we talked about it because we watched the assembled, but we talked about Shrinking, so we will very much watch that one.
Highly recommended. Jason Segel, Harrison Ford. Erin, I can tell when she really likes the show if she thinks it's funny. Like, I think that every single episode she has howled out loud how funny at certain points it is. I think it's just more some of the shock value of some of the things that are said on the show. But yeah, Jason Segel lands, Harrison Ford lands on that show. But yeah, so I'm sold on this director because if he's doing this stuff and he's already working really well on a comedy at that point, and he's executive producing and directing, good choice, very good choice.
Yeah, I mean, based on his credentials and stuff, I'm into it. But right now, I have no reason not to trust Cretton on this, and since we know how involved he is with the show, I'm looking forward to a live action Wonder Man show, right? Who would have ever said that?
Exactly. But just a quick reminder, Andrew Guest will be serving as head writer for Wonder Man. He had previously worked as consulting producer on Hawkeye, but his writing career stretches over serving over writing rooms such as 30 Rock, Community, Suburgatory, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. With Wonder Man aiming to bring production in late March, it can be assumed that this is the latest Disney Plus original series that could be receiving a release date in the spring or summer. More than likely, probably SDCC will probably see an official release date for sometime next year.
All right, bring it on.
All right, so our last story, and again, I say our last kind of official story, we have some late-breaking stories, but they're going to come in the form of our listener questions that started doing it, so we'll talk about those a little bit. But, we got the announcement last year that we were going to be getting a Wolverine focus game on the PlayStation at that point. And so we finally gotten some big kind of information about it. and this is coming from, according to Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb, PlayStation's Wolverine will avoid any links to Fox X-Men universe. Insomniac is leading this up, and Grubb revealed that Insomniac will avoid to have any sort of likeness that evokes the Fox movies. This thing's going to stand on its own. What he's heard, some tidbits on the title, he said it is going to be a hard rated R game, is what they're going to go for from Insomniac. It's one of the concepts that I've heard. I think one of the cool things about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was, hey, the lightsaber sliced the droids in half, and then the bad part was when you go up against stormtroopers. It doesn't do that. Now, I'm mostly okay with that, but I think Wolverine, though, will put us in an environment where those claws are going to work on some people. So, looks like that's, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. When noted on the game's canon timeline, he said, I was trying to nail down the setting. I've heard from my sources in Insomniac that at least it will start before he joins the X-Men, which also makes sense. It's a Wolverine game. Maybe you don't want to be put in a situation where it's like, where's Cyclops? It's like, well, this is before he knew those people. But I don't know for that for sure. That just sounds like how they're looking to at least begin the game. And as for the release window, he says, maybe the surprising thing for me is that I've heard 2 different dates, and it's just combining from here. So I've heard early as fall 2024, which would be very, very soon at that point. I know it's like almost 2 year, year and a half away, but still, you got Spider-Man 2 this fall, and that just is a follow-up to the next fall at that point. So probably more likely 2025, but still, I like hearing hard rated R. It's gonna not shy away from Wolverine using those claws, and even if it's part of the game, yeah, let's look at him before the X-Men. Let's see exactly do some kind of time in there. I'm not opposed to eventually flashing forward to when he's on the X-Men, but again, if the game is called Wolverine, yeah, let the main focus be on Wolverine.
I don't really care where it's at in the timeline. If they're going to make it pre-X-Men, okay, that's fine. I think not putting it as part of the X-Men just to avoid people asking where the other X-Men are is not necessary, because it's Wolverine. He's a loner. He does his thing on his own all the time, so no big deal. So either way, it's totally fine. The fact that there was even questioning if this was going to be tied to the Fox X-Men universe, I think, is absurd. Like, whoever thought that was even a possibility? S-Bub is hit on the only part that they're probably going to likely do, so no black leather outfit in the customization options, S-Bub says. No, actually, I bet you there is. Like, I bet you there is they do take a page out of Spider-Man's book here, and they do have lots of different costumes you can swap them into. And I would be shocked if they didn't have, a leather outfit from like the first or second X-Men movie in there. But like, that'll be it. Kind of like they have the Amazing Spider-Man suit in Insomniac Spider-Man game, but it's in no way tied to the Amazing Universe. They just let you throw on that costume, right? Like, I that'll be it though.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're one of the best covers from X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine last year was just like seeing all the costumes he has ever worn in his history at that point. I mean, it's like Spider-Man. Again, you want to try those costumes. You want to have that moment of putting it on at that point. I mean, it's Insomniac. Everyone loves when they drop the new Spider-Man costume thing, because everyone just wants to wear that costume. I mean, you're playing it right now on your PS5. So
I am. They may not have the Fox X-Men Universe movie one like at launch, but it'll somewhere be DLC and an update that you can get. And there's so many different Wolverine costumes. You're going to end up getting your X-Force costume. You're going to get the brown and tan costume. You're going to get the blue and yellow. You're going to get them all, probably with the mask, without the mask, street clothes. It wouldn't surprise me if you get as a civilian outfit from X-Men the Animated Series, which is basically just the jacket. We're going to probably get. I would genuinely be surprised if they don't follow their own precedent and lean into 20 some odd different looks for the character that you can play as.
Yeah, so be very interesting, but I'm excited for that game. I'm even more excited for the Spider-Man 2 game. So Insomniac knows how to do it, so good for them. But all right, so that is all the news for the main rundown. So let's take our next ad break before we get into listener feedback. So listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. I think we be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So we got a lot of questions to answer. So let's get to it, Brent.
All right, first up from DC Outlaw. Adding on to his question from last week, what characters do you predict we will see in Daredevil Born Again based on casting info that's out and rumors we've heard? Also, other than, because he knows who he's talking to, Spider-Man, She-Hulk, and the Defenders, what established MCU characters do you think will appear? I don't think Spider-Man's appearing regardless. Let's just get that out of there. But
established ones?
Established, or just in general, what characters do you think might appear? For example, I think we brought her up at one point, but possibly Millie, his woman that he actually married in the comics for a while, was briefly married to. That would be like, that's the first name I thought of.
Yeah, I like the character that was introduced in the comics called Mr. Fear. He's a law student with Matt Murdock. Hated him ever since. In making when Matt was able to wipe the floor with him during a mock trial. And so turned it into this kind of villain against Daredevil at that point that was pretty formidable. So I would like to see that, or maybe an introduction to Typhoid Mary. Again, Matt being the latest man, he's also got a thing for the.
They kind of leaned into Typhoid Mary.
Yeah,
already,
you're right.
But they could definitely go further with it, though.
Bullseye,
officially, like
Elektra.
named Bullseye.
Yes, name's Bullseye. Exactly.
Just
Name
clear.
him Bullseye.
What about? It doesn't really fit the casting I've seen so far, at least not that I can think of. But what about this more recent villain, Muse?
I
feel like
mean,
he would be a good one for Daredevil.
I mean, Feige being kind of over Marvel Comics too. I mean, there's a reason why certain things kind of get pushed versus other things left by the wayside in the comics. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, Muse, who basically just kills people for art, like creepy character.
I'd say so. That guy's got some issues.
Can we get the most obvious established MCU character? Can we just say him right off top? Take the low hanging fruit. Sure. Echo.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we were trying to go for non-obvious, but yes, Echo.
No, he didn't exclude Echo. He just excluded She-Hulk, Spider-Man, and the Defenders.
He did. He did at that point, but maybe he was trying to toss us a bone to kind of think like that. So
I think Echo is more likely than She-Hulk, for the record.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, considering what we're hearing that Daredevil will be an Echo at that point, well, we're expecting then the reverse.
I'd actually wondered, like, through the Echo connection, maybe Hawkeye, but I don't know that Renner will be back and ready for that kind of stuff by then. So I'll go ahead and take him off the table for now. But I'd be willing to bet prior to his accident, which thankfully he's recovering from because that is more important, he was probably talked about for the show.
Maybe Kate Bishop?
Maybe Kate Bishop. That'd be cool. Less connected, but I mean, she certainly has ties to Echo now because of the Hawkeye show.
I mean, we don't have that connection necessarily, but yeah, I mean, eventually I'd like to see Yelena with Daredevil.
I would very much like to see that because I still think it's possible that they take some of that relationship from Natasha, apply it to Yelena with Daredevil. One that I would like to see would actually be Bucky, the Winter Soldier. I think that would be I actually tried looking up the other day if they've appeared in any comic books together, and I couldn't find anything outside of like massive team event things. But like, I don't think there's been just like a Daredevil and the Winter Soldier story, but multiple Daredevil and Captain America ones. But I think a Daredevil and Bucky one could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I think that would be interesting too. So, I see kind of followed up with a comment with the Daredevil story saying he'd like to predict that Daredevil will kill and or be killed by a variant of Kang at some point in this saga.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we did get that, Patrick Stewart is out promoting Picard Season 3, and comicbook.com did ask him about the rumors of if he's coming back. Has he gotten a call? He did say, I have been told to be on standby. To stand by at that point.
What? I hope he shows up. I hope he shows up somewhere in it. That'd be great. Oh, I just thought of another possible appearance in Daredevil.
Oh,
Shang-Chi. If they do stuff
yes.
Like I feel like that character, and they've worked together in the comics several times. I think that I think that would be a good place to go. And Daredevil, he likes to have fun sometimes. Shang-Chi's a little more lighthearted character, at least how he was presented in that movie. Let's do it.
Yep, Amara Daniels saying Kate Bishop should have. Maybe we'll find out what name Clint had in mind for her.
Okay. All right, Amari.
But yeah, I mean that was kind of interesting, kind of last minute, like him saying anything. He could easily say I don't know anything or things like that. But the fact that he said like he's received a call and being told be on standby. So what does that mean? Don't know. Just saying, hey, we're still thinking about it because they haven't even started shooting yet necessarily.
I mean, I could see them pulling Hugh Jackman out of the Foxverse and like him just getting a cameo from Patrick Stewart then, which if that happens, keeps the two of them together for number of appearances for their characters and the longest running record that they currently hold with their characters. So part of me just hopes they do just for that because I like that the two of them have that together.
Yeah, I mean, Liz giving a little shout out to our DCA brethren at that point. I had forgotten that who he took the record from was the actor who played Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, yeah.
So they had shouted out in their Superman 4 review.
I'd forgotten that too.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I mean, Michael Keaton also has a chance at pulling that record. I mean, I guess Keaton will take it when The Flash comes out this year, but
yeah,
Jackman will get it right back with Deadpool 3.
Exactly. Just, back and forth, kind of pass the baton back and forth. But I mean, all this stuff.
Assuming they don't cut Keaton entirely. Which, at this point, I wouldn't rule anything out.
I think we really say he's in the movie. So
I hope so.
But I mean, all the stuff we're hearing about Daredevil, like the possibility, like we keep on going back and forth with this whole idea of like, well, we know he's multiverse. There's going to be this multiverse at that point, but like Deadpool is not necessarily someone to be careful. So we could kind of really see Deadpool really wreck the multiverse to the point where could he really start making this a lot worse than where we're going to start it this week?
He in his own canon has already killed a version of himself.
Yes.
And I don't just mean the Ryan Reynolds reading the Green Lantern script, but a version of Deadpool he has already killed.
So yeah, he could really kickstart the march toward Secret Wars and really be like, oh, shoot, my bad. Sorry, guys. But I do like the idea of a variant of Kang killing a Deadpool. So that would be interesting.
I'm into it.
Yeah. So... all right, what do we got next?
All right, from Amari Daniels. Even though the Eternals were separated at the end of their film, when do you think they could first meet characters in the greater MCU?
I mean, it could be as soon as this year with Miss Marvel. I mean, the Marvels. The Marvels.
Yeah, either Guardians or the Marvels. I feel like would have been possibilities. I think the Marvels is far more likely. I think Guardians is going to truly be on its own. But I mean, at least a group of them are out in space, right?
Yeah. I
mean, obviously, space is a big place, but like I feel like pretty relatively organically they could run into each other. Or maybe Kingo I could see in Wonder Man with the Hollywood connections.
Yeah,
he's not a Hollywood actor, but maybe there.
I think that's a prime area to kind of see that. That would be a great cameo, not just on a poster, mind you, but actually showing up. That would be kind of fun.
I think that's the next most likely one to appear.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's I'm down with that. But then let me kind of put the story out there first before we get into Travis Snell's and S-Bub stuff, just because
they both ask questions on this one.
They both basically are about this one. So today, this one, I'd have to say, came out of left field because was not expecting this. So Sony has announced, this is coming from Variety, exclusive from Variety, that a Spider-Man noir series is in the works at Amazon Prime, making the second Sony Spider-Man spinoff on the streamer, both of which have not seen much outside of it's happening or they're still working on it, mind you. The untitled live-action series will focus on an older take of the iconic wall crawler set in the 1930s New York. It did note that the person underneath the mask of Spider-Man Noir will not be Peter Parker and will be in its own separate Spider-Man universe. Now, again, the general audience was introduced to Spider-Man Noir in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that came out at that point. So they did name some some kind of producers behind this, or writers. So Oren Uziel, the writer of The Lost City, Mortal Kombat, and Cloverfield Paradox, will join the project as writer and executive producer, who developed this series alongside Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, as well as former Sony executive Amy Pascal. That's interesting.
You know, having the Spider-Verse people involved is a good thing. The writer of Mortal Kombat, okay, that's, you know, that's a strike. But, and I've heard negative things about the Cloverfield Paradox, but I can't speak to it myself because I didn't. Is that the one they just dropped after the Super Bowl one day?
Yeah, it was on Netflix. Yeah, the same day.
Regardless, wasn't that great from what I've heard. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But I like that the others, the Lord and Miller, and even Pascal are involved in it for sure.
Yeah, I did. For some reason, also when it caught me off guard, like former Sony executive Amy Pascal, I thought she was still with Sony.
She's with her own production company, and Sony basically hires her to work on the Spider-Man stuff.
That's it.
It's been that way for, well, at least for No Way Home, and I want to say longer than that.
Yeah, seeing her kind of on the, you know, promoting Sony and everything like that. Obviously, that makes sense now. So, all right, so. This was interesting. It's not animation. It's a live action Spider-Man noir, not Peter Parker. So do you want to give thoughts, or do you want to go into these questions?
I think we'll end up going back and forth.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get Snell's question first. Was Spider-Man noir rumored to not be Peter Parker, which, I mean, Variety flat out says it's not Peter Parker. Why do you think in live action that Sony is not using Peter Parker outside the MCU? I mean, if you believe the rumors, they tried with Andrew Garfield and they couldn't give him whatever he wanted, which I don't think was a pay thing. I think was more creative thing. But if those rumors say they did try, I've actually wondered if they can't, and I've never seen anything official that says that they can't because of the deal with the MCU. Peter Parker is off limits. I've never seen anything official.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far,
but. It could be one of those things of like, we're not going to, you know, bite the hand that feeds you. And they know that Peter Parker is more valuable as part of the MCU than without it. And so they don't want to make Marvel mad by doing that's, to be clear, pure speculation. But I genuinely think the reason they don't do it is because of the MCU.
I mean, you're not necessarily wrong in that sense. It's almost in this. It leads to eventually with S-Pubs at this point, but we've established there's a multiverse, okay? Hate it all you want, Morbius furthers that idea, you know? Yep. And you could say it's a joke of a scene, it's slap in the face, whatever. It exists, it happened, all right?
It's not a slap in the face, in my opinion. It's just poorly shot, edited,
okay, it's
acted.
Just terrible.
It's just everything about that scene is awful.
But it exists at that point.
It does exist.
It's
canon to the Sony movies.
To the Sony movies. Like I think I understand what you're saying, and I don't think you're wrong by any stretch of the imagination that they're so afraid they don't want to damage the brand of Peter Parker in the MCU. That's trying to treating the audience saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there's two different Peter Parkers, multiverse." Oh, okay. I mean, that's it. That's all you have to say. But the fact that even in the comics, it's a Peter Parker from a different world. We have a whole movie, an animated movie, where you have different Peter versions of Parker. Because again, there's female versions, there's male versions. There's like, if we can establish in an animated universe that there are other Peter Parkers out there, I'm sorry, Sony. Again, Sony can keep on they have a ball. They have a golden ball with all these Spider-Man characters, and they just keep on screwing it up. I'm sorry, but they are.
And that leads to the part where maybe I think that, official or not, maybe Sony thinks Marvel Studios would not be happy if they did it. And
fair.
That said, I'd be willing to bet money that Kevin Feige, especially now, is not going to say no to another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie. Like if they gave him veto power, which they wouldn't do, but it just is, you know, hypothetically speaking, like because all that would do would help retroactively promote sales of Spider-Man No Way Home for the 3 people that haven't seen it yet. But so no, I don't think he would do that. But that is my best theory on why they're not doing it. That is my theory. And luckily, because of especially Into the Spider-Verse, the audience is used to spider characters that are not Peter Parker. Yes, so many of them are Peter Parker, but I mean, the biggest one that's not, Miles Morales, is absolutely out there as Spider-Man, and the audience accepts it. So I do think they will be okay that this version of Spider-Man Noir is not Peter Parker, and will be pretty easy to accept it. And this will be post Across the Spider-Verse at a minimum, when, you know, we're going to meet other spiders like 2099, who's a totally different character under the mask, you know, with Miguel.
Yeah. Omar Daniels bringing plus in Venom 2, the symbiote talked about having the knowledge of other universes at that point. Exactly. Yep. No, you're right. True. Again, you mentioned Miguel. It's not a Peter Parker. My thing is, at that point, I'm okay. I'm not the thing, oh, it has to be Peter Parker because it was like that way in the comics. I'm not necessarily like that, but it frustrates me to know, and with Sony, that they just... I just don't understand certain moves that he had. Like we joke, but we generally are looking forward to Madam Web, and they again established this whole idea within even out there. So the web of life at that point, where you have all these different spider totems, different ideas like that. Like Peter, we even talk about in Spider-Verse as we're reading at that point how critical Peter Parker is. Call him Peter Parker, don't call him Peter Parker at that point, but it's just one of those things that kind of goes hand in hand. But to counter that is just like you said, anyone can wear the mask. I accept that. I'm okay with that. But I don't know. It just read very weird, and I think that's the biggest thing. People are like, when they read this and hear this, it's like, wait a minute, it's not going to be Peter Parker? Okay, I guess.
And you know what? I'll be honest, I kind of had a similar reaction at first, but the more I think about it, I'm okay with it. I will say this, because it's, in my opinion, it is not realistic to actually hope and wait for Sony to sell the license to Spider-Man back to Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of reasons on both sides why that's a deal they shouldn't do. So that means we have to accept Sony is going to be making more Marvel projects going forward. I want them to be as good as they can be. I would rather they make this and have it not be Peter Parker than not make it because they feel, for whatever reason, that they shouldn't use Peter Parker.
And you know, I'm agreeing with you that, and from a business perspective, the deals they made a couple last year and the year before, at that point with all the different streamers and these deals, to make it for someone to buy them out, it's a nightmare to untangle those deals, and they're stuck with them at that point. So you're still holding that dream, it's not going to happen.
And it's not even just that. It's absolutely part of that. But you got to remember, all Sony has is the license rights to the movies. They don't have all the merchandise stuff, right? They don't have all the comic stuff. Like when Marvel bought Star Wars for $4 billion, or when Disney bought Star Wars, to clarify, they got everything tied to Star Wars. All of that, every one of those cash flows went to Disney. When they bought Marvel for $4 billion, it was the same way, minus the movie licensing rights for Spider-Man, and of course for the other projects that they now own that were Fox. Because they already have all those revenue streams from Spider-Man, it's not as valuable to them. Plus, look at it this way. The fact that, at least for No Way Home, Marvel Studios got a third of that box office, roughly a third of that box office, makes it even less valuable to try and buy the movie rights outright. Like to try and buy the license. Like that's not going to happen. So at this point, I'm not rooting for Sony to make bad movies. Do I think it's funny when things like Morbius happen? And granted, I still say that movie's fine, but with the whole story of the re-release bombing stuff, sure, it is funny. Will it be funny if that happens to Kraven? It'll be a funny story, but I don't want it to happen because I don't want things associated with any of these Marvel characters to be bad.
Yeah.
And I think that making a Spider-Man Noir show is a brilliant move marketing-wise, because it allows them to have a Spider-Man that they can market without affecting anything else, and it being very obvious up front to even the lay viewer that this is not tied to the MCU proper. This is not one of those films. And unlike Silk, which its full name is Silk Spider Society, they don't have to throw in subtitles to get the word spider in there. They don't have to they probably beat you over the head in the marketing. I can see it now with the fact that she is tied to Spider-Man, because nobody outside of people who listen to this show have heard of Silk before, right? Silk hasn't even been in one of the Spider-Verse movies. Spider-Man Noir at least has. And I know they said an official title is not there yet, but all they have to call it is Spider-Man Noir. And it's like they quite literally going to have their cake and eat it too with it. I think it's a brilliant move, looking at SBub's question, will this actually release and when will it happen? Assuming it actually releases, I think it's a brilliant move for them to try. Plus, there hasn't been a Spider-Man show, a live-action Spider-Man show, since like 1977, 1978, whenever the Nicholas Hammond one was on. I think it's a brilliant move.
It's like you said, will this come out? Considering we haven't seen any kind of real updates outside of them saying, "Oh, it's still happening, Silk." At that point, I'm with you. I don't root against Craven. We're obviously rooting for Madam Web. All jokes aside, because that movie sounds bonkers at that point. I just want to kind of see it.
It sounds fun. And what's weird, though, in that, it's rumored to have a Peter Parker, but more like a baby and more be about Peter Parker.
But like you said, to root against it, it damages the brand. And that's what frustrates me. And I think when, friend of the show, Sean O'Connell, was on our show, and when I talked to him a few weeks ago at that point, I think that's the frustration with Sony. It's just like, you're making these moves. I don't think anyone generally says, "Oh, we're going to make a bad movie." That nobody really does.
No,
nobody wants to go out.
Nobody's trying to do that. No.
And so I generally think, like, when we make fun of this, why a Craven movie? Why this? Why what? Childish Gambino's doing with his character. Jokes aside, I mean, they generally have an idea for it, but it's just like, I don't see what's going on. You have all these different things you could do, but you're not. And the moves you are making outside of this one, which I agree, is a brilliant move for them to put a Spider character out there, that a Spider-Man character that you don't have to add a subtitle necessarily with it. I'm looking forward to Silk. I think I like Cindy Moon as a character in the comic. I think it's a fascinating, really cool idea. But again, kind of like I'm leaning on SBubs, that one, is it really going to happen? Because Silk's been announced for a long time. We haven't heard anything outside of, oh yeah, it's still happening. I don't know.
But even a character like Silk doesn't have the advantage that one of the several Spider Girls or Spider Women have, of where they could just do a Spider Woman show and call it that.
True.
That would be easier for them to do, because like from a marketing standpoint, I mean. And with Spider-Man, like there are other spiders that they could do Spider-Man 2099, for example, as well, right? Like they could do something there and get that same advantage of having Spider-Man in the title. Shoot, it's more marketable than the Scarlet Spider is, for example, or Spider-Punk, or pick alternate version of Spider-Man, whatever one you want, like, because they can use the name Spider-Man. Like I think it's a great move. I hope it comes out. I've honestly thought a Peter Parker Spider-Man in high school show ever since Smallville. I've thought, wow, they should totally do this. It would fit the format wonderfully. But I would love for there to be a live-action Spider-Man show. That's partly why I'm excited for Silk, because that is a live-action Spider-Man, asterisk, because she's not Spider-Man, she's Silk, but Spider show. And so I love the idea. I want them doing something with it. They're going to do it. They're not, as long as they come out with like their one movie every X number of years, they're not ever losing the license, right? So they might as well do something with it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. They know at the very least that they do have that ability to think, oh, we can put out something at that point. But again, not going out there to make a bad movie. Mara Daniels saying, I'm a sucker for period pieces, so I like this noir scene. No, I'm too. You're speaking 1930s at that point? Yeah, great. Love it. SBubs, and now they can sell Spider-Man action figures with guns and other cool accessories. I mean, sure.
Not wrong.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A good chunk of that will go to Marvel directly. I don't know how the merchandise rights are exactly split. I just know it's way more favorable to Disney and Marvel Studios than the Fox ones ever were. That's why you never saw much of any Fox merchandise.
Well, it was one of the big sticking points of the breakup when it was happening. So when Tom Holland started crying about it, but
right. I love this idea. And full disclosure, the original Spider-Man Noir series, I haven't read it. Like, all my reading of that character has been as part of other events. And of course I saw him in Into the Spider-Verse 37 times. I've seen that movie. So I am going to add those two. I'm doing the comic challenge. Why not? I'm going to add those in and I'm going to read those. Turns out there's a Daredevil Noir book. I had no idea. Didn't know that existed. You might argue several of his runs already fit that description, but I'm like, I'll check them out. I mean, they're only 4 or 5 issues. I got time for that.
I mean, again, it's Daredevil and Spider-Man. I mean, do we have to tell you more?
I'm in.
Yep. So, but all right. Well, yeah, we'll continue to watch this again. You've got our attention at that point. 2 Amazon series. I hope we do get some further updates. Maybe some when we're going into production, some ideas. So we'll wait and see. But all right. So that is all we have for feedback. So thank you all for writing in, including some of the last minute additions to that. We greatly appreciate that. Love these questions at that point. So let me pull up the Fact or Fictions from last week. As I pull this up, you gotta love, we enjoy Twitter when it actually works. Yesterday was kind of weird.
Yesterday was weird with their whole big shutdown.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. All right, Fact or Fiction number 1. One of the Spider-Verse movies will have a live action sequence. 47% said fact, 53% said fiction. I'll tell you what, it will be wild if they do it.
I think.
Yeah. Herbie will be in Fantastic Four. 62% said fact, 38% said fiction. I'm sorry, I do have to give a shout out. Anthony DC Outlaw says, not sure why Herbie would be in this, and puts the gif of Herbie the car at that point. My response to him was the gif from The Office saying, "Why are you the way you are?"
that got a good laugh out of me though.
Yep, it is. And at that point, number 3, when the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 marketing begins, somewhere it will say, from the head of DC Studios, I put in, Brent could not resist. 13% said fact, 87% said fiction. Brent also said, well, someone voted yes. Josh Green admitted that he was at least one of the people that voted yes. He got the same gif. Why are you the way you are? Oh, God, y'all are trolling me today with these Fact or Fictions. But all right, so I know this might disappoint someone, namely Phil Barker, one of our loyal listeners at that point, loves these Fact or Fiction. I know a number of you really enjoy these and having some good fun with it. But we are going to be taking a break from Fact or Fiction for this week and next week. Again, basically due to the idea that if we had Fact or Fiction this week, it would be basically 2+ weeks before we'd actually get to review them at that point. So we're going to hold off on Fact or Fiction. We basically had a whole episode of our own predictions that you could basically call our Fact or Fictions at that point. So
you could call it that.
You could call it that. So we will return to Fact or Fiction after the week after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania review. So, but speaking of that, totally forgot to say that.
I was just thinking, did I miss it? Did we not talk about that?
I missed it. So going back, what I should have had in the beginning, bad opening at that point, but yes, schedule for next week. We will we will not be doing 2 episodes of Marvel Alliance. We had that and we only really do that when we do have a show. So we're going to kind of hold off on that. Yes, we know there's going to be rumored trailers dropping with Super Bowl. Guys are just going to have to wait one more week for us to do that at that point. So depends how good the trailer is.
There's going to have to be something absolutely seismic. And I'll be honest, I don't think a trailer drop is who knows? But right now the plan is we'll be at the movies on Thursday. So Friday is when we will do our review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yep.
Excited. We are a week away.
We are a week away at this point. But yes, we will be going live next Friday at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. Brent and I will be doing the review. We want to, but again, we don't want to leave you without content. You got to have that content in the feeds on Friday morning. So Travis Hines, the Animation Nation, is going to be switching with us. They usually have been going live on Saturday with the switch off at that point, but he will be dropping a new episode of the Animation Nation as looking at the X-Men, the animated series on Friday morning. We will go live Friday night. The Saturday morning, we will drop in the feeds our big review at that point. So a big week.
I don't know what episode he's up to for releasing on the Animation Nation, because I listen to Patreon and he puts them on there early.
Yep.
But just know that there are upcoming episodes that separately both of us are on.
Yes.
That will be coming up sooner than later. So I mean, it's coming close.
Yep, it's getting close out there, but thank you, Mr. Hines, for switching with us at that point. So we look forward to that. God, I can't believe I totally forgot. I even had it in our notes,
thought I
too.
missed you listening to it. Like I was like, I must have been reading something because I thought, I totally missed him bringing it up.
Nope. That's just me. That's just me having a brain fart at that point. So, all right, well, let us head into Comic Book Club. We're back to the Amazing Spider-Man as we head back into the Spider-Verse. We are with the Amazing Spider-Man issue 10. This is officially part 2 of Spider-Verse. This is kind of a little bit of we have a little bit of action, but a lot of kind of discussion and kind of setting the stage of what we've just learned about everything going on.
Yeah, I have one kind of major, maybe not major. I have one quibble with how something was handled in this issue, and we'll get there. But
Okay.
right away, like I have since read the Spider Punk miniseries, which, for the record, I liked it. I don't necessarily need a ton more of it, but I do think it's worth reading. Just if nothing else, some fun twist on different characters. But I had to laugh when Spider Punk shows up and he's talking to Miles and he just says "Spider up or die." And I'm like, well, that feels right. A little hyperbole, like that just feels like that character so much now since I've read that miniseries.
I just like, especially as a "Spider up or die."
But it's a fun concept because we find out in this that the superior Spider-Man is leading his own team. So there are now two separate teams of spiders against the Inheritors. And yes, by the end of the issue, they'll crash and become one. But there's even some confusion because they have like scanners of stuff. Oh, he's from Earth's or Universe 616. He's from Universe 616. How is that possible? And I do remember how it folds, and I remember how all is possible. But Peter just tell you, there was that moment where Superior Spider-Man got lost in time, which happened like in the Superior Spider-Man comic, which came out prior to this. And it was basically like, where did he go? You'll have to find out in Spider-Verse. Well, this is where he went. So because this is the only, like, they're the only ones that have two of the same, like, body from the same universe that are there. And so but I love that they did it. I love that Dan Slott included Superior in this story.
Yeah, and we get some more of the sense of the lore behind it, especially like, we see this kind of older Spider-Man when Cindy is kind of lurking around at that point and trying to volunteer, and he goes, "No, you're going to stay here. You can't come with us." At that point, not understanding like how pivotal she is as she becomes known as the I think the bride at that point.
Mm-hmm. Cindy is the bride. Yep, you have the bride, the scion, and the other. And yeah, that older Spider-Man, we find out, is Ezekiel.
But not the Ezekiel from 616.
Not the 616 Ezekiel, but a different one. And your first real clue at that is he says like you should have basically stayed in your, I'm already forgetting what he called it, like stayed in your cave, basically, where she was hiding out. And I'll be honest, I had forgotten.
Or held hostage, more likely.
Right. That Ezekiel was in it. Like, I had forgotten about his character being in this. And so it's like, oh, yeah, that is him, isn't it? And sure enough, a few pages later, you find out.
Yeah, especially like, his version is just like, a world where Moreland killed Peter at that point. Mm-hmm. So kind of the beginning of the JMS run at that point where we see that. But it's really interesting in the sense of not just Ezekiel's reveal, but pointing out, Scarlet Spider being the other,
Yes.
At that point. So again, they cannot, we start seeing like they can't be all together. They have to be protected at all costs because the Inheritors don't realize who they are yet. They seem like they're very powerful spider totems, but they don't understand the importance of all three of them.
Right. Clearly they don't all know, but it is there. And I'm probably going to say this every time. It's so much fun just to see these big pages with all these different spiders. And they don't all look the same. It's not like during the Clone Saga when they all are wearing Spider-Man's costume. They're all wearing different spider costumes. I absolutely love that. I cannot imagine how long it took to draw some of these pages, but I love that they did that.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Cindy doesn't listen. She ends up with the team and then ends up jumping in with another group at that point. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen. And there seems to be a fight of who's going to be in charge at that point. Superior, obviously, being who he is at that point, claims that he's in charge. I thought our Cosmic Spider-Man was in charge. But then Peter's kind of left there standing. Is he going to step up to the plate?
And I kind of got the feeling that prior to 616 Peters joining, that Spider UK might have been in charge for a while. So it is hard to say. Before we move on, the quibble that I have about this,
Yep.
I think the way they led into the miniseries that tied into it was pretty clunky. Like Kane and Jessica Drew and alternate Ben Reilly, they all take off together because it's a clone thing, and they want to go investigate that. And like they're like, okay, follow it in the Scarlet Spiders, and then you have a couple others go off. And they're like, okay, follow this in Spider-Man 29, follow this in that book. And I feel like I don't know, like it felt like it was rushed in some sort of weird way that it could have been more organic. So that'd be the big.
It's called this money.
The money. And to be clear, like I like that they did the miniseries. I just wish they had a better lead into them.
True, you're right. But yeah, so we'll head into part 3, which is the next issue at that point with Amazing Spider-Man number 11. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, we'll come back to that at that point. So MJ joining in last second at that point wants to throw out his prediction for him. I think this year will belong to Secret Invasion and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as the best show and movie of the MCU. I don't think Brent and I would be disappointed if it ends up being that.
No, I'll take it.
Yep. All right, well, that is it. 150 episodes, Brent.
150 episodes. I should have gone back and figured out on how many of these I've actually been on, but 150 is still quite an achievement. So I'm appreciative to everyone listening so we can keep doing this. And of course, to you, Chris, and for being here every week with me. And of course, Travis Snell for, I'm not happy he had to vacate, but I am thankful that he was on board with asking me to come on to attempt to fill in his shoes. I know not as many food references, but
what none of us can lay claim to is none of us have been on all 150 episodes.
That is very true, but you know what? This show is a true team effort, and not just with us, but the GUA at large, stepping in and filling in when we need those people to help out. So it's a team effort, and I appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. So again, thanks for being there for 150 episodes, 150 plus more ahead of us at that point. So let us say our goodbyes. So first, as always, want to thank our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, for your omnibus collected edition needs. Use that code MARVELGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Brentech Prime on Twitter and TikTok, and I'll go ahead for the first time mention I did finally join Mastodon. I'm not doing a ton over there. Most of the tech people I followed moved over to there, so if I wanted to still see what they were saying, I had to hop on the train. It's Brentech at mastodon.social. They got to work on that, but that's what it is. Brentech at mastodon.social. So, it's calm over there in a way that Twitter is not. It is very calm.
It was kind of calm a little bit on Twitter yesterday, but not for the reasons we wanted it to be calm. Because
nobody can tweet. I desperately wanted to reply to Hines in a DM, and I couldn't do it. I'm like trying to tweet at him publicly, trying to reply to him.
I saw that tweet.
I finally get a Facebook Messenger post to go through, and I'm like, this is killing me.
Yes, Twitter is burning down royally. But you can follow me. You can follow me still on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers, and you can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. I'm not on Mastodon. The show is not on Mastodon yet. There's only so many socials I can do right now, so we're gonna hold off until it all burns down around us.
That is totally fair.
So
totally valid.
You can email the show at Marvel Alliance at Marvel Alliance Podcast at gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, fact or fictions, ask questions at that point. Continue to rate, review Marvel Alliance solo feed, GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, whatever podcatcher choice may be. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, as I hinted at the top of the show, post-credits tonight is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania predictions, theories, hopes, box office. So what do you want to start off with? Because you've also been sitting on a listener theory for a couple of weeks now, and we said we were going to hold off on it until our predictions. So what do you want to start off with?
Let's go ahead and start with Eric's theory he sent in. So Eric, several weeks ago, sent this in and said, feel free to read it or not on the show, because potential spoilers. To be clear, Eric hadn't seen the movie, and to my knowledge, still hasn't seen the movie. But just, sometimes if you predict something, so keep in mind of that. But he says, It appears Marvel wants us to think this is about Scott and Cassie's relationship that's going to drive the King plot. Well, who's also an Ant-Man who has lost more time with a loved one than Scott? Our guy Hank Pym. It makes more sense in the context of the universe that King is actually making a deal with Hank and not Scott. Also, Hank is more likely to know how to get out of the quantum realm. With Darren Cross serving/consulting King, one might think that he's told King about Pym's capabilities, so he thinks Hank and Janet might actually be Ant-Man and the Wasp that the title is referring to. What do you think?
That is some serious headcanon at that point. That's some bravo just on thinking on that level. That's some deep stuff.
I like the idea. I don't think it's
too.
going to happen because if nothing else, I think people would feel like Marvel pulled a fast one on them by not continuing more directly Scott Lang's story. Plus, so much of the Ant-Man trilogy so far, which granted, keep in mind, Marvel trilogies are not like regular trilogies, but of the Ant-Man trilogy, so much of it has been about Scott's relationship with Cassie. Now, it hasn't all been like, it's been more her importance to him than their direct relationship, because he hasn't always had one. He hasn't necessarily been able to, He was trying to get back in her life in the first movie. He's on house arrest in the second movie. I don't think this title means Hank and Janet, unless there is a reference to them also being Ant-Man and the Wasp. But I still think the movie is primarily Scott, and then Hope, and Stature. Well, I say Stature. Cassie, I assume she's going to be Stature, but
Or Stinger.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I mean, Eric, that is again, very, very well thought out at that point. I like how you're shooting an idea out there, but I do agree with Brent. It'd be kind of a bait and switch. It's interesting. Now, what I would say is that I think that as we kind of get into theories and hopes at that point, I think this movie is going to lean a lot into Janet's time, and she's going to have a very big part into this movie, bigger than probably what people would think, especially since we just got her back. But I think being that she spent all this time in the quantum realm, she's going to be a big part of understanding not just what she was doing down there and how she survived, but leading to how they're going to get out.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be nice to have Michelle Pfeiffer in it for a larger presence. She had I believe, no lines, but she had the cameo in Avengers Endgame, but no lines, if I remember right. And then what I would call an extended cameo in Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? Like, she was in the movie, but not very much. And so it'll be nice to have her as part of more of this.
Yeah. It's what's one theory you have out there?
So the biggest one that let's say I subscribe to. I don't want to claim ownership. It's not my theory. I read this, and gosh, I really wish I could remember where I read this theory. Is that if you go back to Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and the Legend of the Ten Rings, go to that first credit scene, the mid-credit scene, where Wong recruits Shang-Chi in, and he meets with Captain Marvel and Bruce. They zoom in, they're looking at the 10 rings, and they zoom in on it, right? And they go super far into it, and there's a pulse coming out of it, and they refer to it as a beacon. The theory is that if you look at the trailers, Cassie was able to send a signal into the quantum realm. She might know how to send one out of it also. And that beacon from the 10 rings could be, because we don't know, where these take place timeline-wise with each other yet, and especially with the quantum realm. That beacon that we saw in the 10 rings credit scene could potentially be a signal from Cassie from the quantum realm, or just some sort of signal from the quantum realm in general. I love the idea. I don't know how plausible it is. I will say this. I like it enough that I took the 2 minutes to go back and rewatch that mid-credit scene as part of my Ant-Man and the Wasp prep. David and I actually, we collaborated on that particular adventure at work the other day and had to take that in. But regardless, I think there's enough viability there that if you're like me and you like to rewatch stuff in anticipation of these movies, I would take the time to pull that one up on Disney Plus if you don't have it, own it, and fast forward to the credit scene.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we did our review of it. One of my theories was signaling Galactus at that point. Eternals was on the horizon and things like that as well. One of the things I'm going to say is, I would love to see, I know we're going to see this Kang, but it would be great to see maybe some other Kangs in this, maybe as a history lesson or some referring back to other Kangs, other versions of himself at that point. I would love to hear that.
I would love to see He Who Remains.
Or being referred to.
Or referred to. I would like that.
Because one of the
refer to
theories
those shows, you know?
Yeah, one of the theories I've talked about during our breakdown of the trailer is like, this Kang could have been banished. This is his exile. You know, he's trying to get out. He's mad. He's angry that he's stuck there. So
right now, outside WandaVision, the shows haven't really impacted the movies that much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a little more referencing to that would be. I think it'd be a good thing for the Marvel Studios in general. So I hope they do it.
Yeah. Another one, again, is going to the fact or fictions, because I think that some of this, I was leaning fact on all these. I think one of the main cast is going to be stuck in the quantum realm at the end of this movie. We just went through that with Janet. I could definitely see it being at least one, if not two, and maybe it's going to be Scott again.
See, I don't think he's going to be stuck there. I think there is a non-zero chance that Scott Lang specifically dies in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where all this is coming from, but it's, he's getting beat up. I said, he's going to survive. I'm not saying someone's not going to die, but I think Scott survives.
Yeah, so we're on opposite side. Well, you think he survives for sure. I think it's possible he won't. I lean survives. You know, fact or fiction me, and I'm leaning survive. But
those different versions of him could die. I'll okay.
That. The canonical main version, Sacred Timeline, Prime Timeline, 616, whatever you want to call it, timeline 616, based on if you're talking to Amon Villani or Kevin Feige, of course. I think it is possible he will die. I don't want that to happen. It's such a charming character, but I don't know. I feel you know, you normally go into these movies and you're like, oh, well, my hero is going to survive this one, right? I don't know. Maybe not. And I have zero implications of what his contract is like. I have no idea. I really kind of quit paying attention to those because they could have a 7-movie contract and only use them one time, or they could have a 3-movie contract and bring him back for 8 appearances. So I really don't pay attention to the contract game anymore. I don't know. Again, I lean towards he survives. I think it's plausible he doesn't.
Well, it could also be a fake out at that point as well. I'm on the opposite side of that one. But my other one, and again, going back to the fact or fiction I think one of the post credits is going to be a tie-in to Loki season 2. I think it's too good not to do it. And again, drive those subs. You want to see what happens next in this journey at that point.
Especially after they just lost a bunch of them, apparently.
It wasn't a bunch. It was
it was 2 million.
It was when you have nothing really on at that point. I mean, I can't really say that that didn't necessarily was a reason behind it. But yeah, I think one of the post credits is going to be like that.
I hope you're right about that. Again, I want to see more. I want to see more of that. You know, I want the Disney Plus content to play a bigger part in the movies. And not saying every single Disney Plus show should have to be required viewing for every single movie. It shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. But some of them where the connections are organic, like the Kang character, it should. So I hope that it will.
Yep. All right. All in the Game put this out there. He says, did y'all make a bet for domestic opening? Well, we haven't even talked about it, but now it's the time to talk about box office. So, and you put this in the notes. Is this domestic or is this worldwide?
Okay. These are the domestic opening numbers.
Okay, domestic opening numbers, 57 million, 75 million. What's the current prediction right now?
The most recent one I can find, which is a couple days old, both Cinema Blend and Box Office Pro have this exact one. I don't know where they got it from. It says 98 to 128 million.
Domestic?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do you want to say, Brent? Where are you at?
Right now, I'm going to call 107. I'm going to call it
Okay.
107. I think they are going to break 100 for the first time. 57 was solid for the first Ant-Man. 75 is a nice bump. I think the character's going to, I think he had a nice uptick in interest, especially largely because of Civil War. I think with his appearance in Avengers Endgame, the appearance of Jonathan Edwards, who obviously is making quite the name for himself.
Majors.
Jonathan Majors. I'm sorry, not Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Majors. I think they're going to be able to pull it off. I think they're going to break 100.
Yep. I've been going back and forth.
All in the game says 3 or 4 day. 3 day, to be clear. I'm talking about the 3 day. I know it's a little different because it is a holiday weekend, and there will be people who would have gone on Sunday but will now wait until Monday because it just is better with their schedule because of the holiday. I am calling 100 for the 3 day number.
Okay, 3 day number at that point. I've been going back and forth between 105 and 110.
Oh, so you're right there in line with me then.
I'm right there in line with you, and I think since this is, I'm going to shoot for it at that point. I'm going to go 110. I think the reason I'm going 110 is it's going to push over, as we keep on saying, on the back of Jonathan Majors, what they're marketing for this. It's going to be the first Marvel movie in China. I think that stands to bring that up there. So, yeah, I'm going 110.
Yeah, that bringing up the 4 day weekend, I think that's when we get up to that higher end of the range of 128 or whatever.
Yeah,
I would be pretty surprised. Pleasantly surprised. That'd be great for him if they did it in 3 days. But 110 I think is a much more reasonable number than 128 is.
Yeah, 128's like, oof. When I saw that, I was like, ooh boy. All right. I mean that's
cracking 100 for the first time for the Ant-Man franchise, which there's an Ant-Man franchise. Someday I'll get used to it, but today's not that day. I think would be great. So
how long do they have this to themselves for a bit?
Oh gosh, they have a decent run, don't they? I'd have to look it up, but
yeah, I don't know.
I'd have to look at the movies. What else is coming out? Well, now I'm gonna pull up and see if I can find some showtimes real quick and just get a rough look at what is coming ahead. Let's see. Let's jump to Friday, February 24th, and see what's coming out. Well, Cocaine Bear is coming out.
Okay.
Not exactly the same audience, but there's right now, at least on AMC, they're not listing that much, but they don't often show. Tickets aren't always on sale ahead of time.
Yeah, releases in March. I'm looking up. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting just because I don't think there's anything really huge.
I don't think there's any. Well,
I think once you start getting deeper into March at that point, let's see. As we start looking,
like John Wick's in March, right?
Yes, John Wick's in March,
and Shazam's in March.
Creed.
I see. Creed is probably the first biggest competition. I don't think Shazam is massive competition for it, other than however far removed they are from each other. Like Shazam will gain more interest, but only because it'll be several weeks at that point. Because let's see, John Wick's March 24th, Shazam is March 17th, so there's going to be almost a whole month.
Well, Creed's March 3rd.
Yeah, see, I think that's the first real competition for it.
Mm-hmm. So it'll have 2 weeks to itself before it faces Creed at that point. So, Majors going against Majors. So,
well, he's likely to go 1 and 2 that weekend, or there's a very good chance I have it.
Yep, exactly. So, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever's China release only set to gross a total of 10 to 15 million.
Kind of surprises me, but by now, especially with it being available on Disney Plus, they have been able to find ways that they could watch it if they want.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, we will see you next Friday night at that point, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time, with our review. Those of you going to go see it, enjoy the movie. Those of you who will be seeing a little later, will be holding off at that point, but we look forward to it as we enter the quantum realm. See you all later. Bye-bye.